Hey 12s, it's the Seahawks Squad, sponsored by Gametime. Everything Seattle Seahawks every week, breaking down all the big hits and game-changing plays from the Emerald City, the way only the Locked On Podcast Network can. Get loud, 12s. The Seahawks Squad Show starts now.
Welcome back into another episode of the Seahawks Squad Show. Anderson Hurst, Robert Turbo Turbin, Corbin Smith, and Chris Crawford are with us today. Really appreciate you guys hanging out with us on the Locked On Seahawks YouTube channel. You can catch this episode, of course, live on YouTube, as you probably are consuming us at this point in time, but also in podcast format after the show as well. Really appreciate anyone who comes and hangs out with us. We'll break down everything Seattle Seahawks in a little bit longer form. We have a nice long hour to chew on the biggest storylines heading into the preseason, and that will be the majority of the episode today, where we talk, we've talked training camp for the first few episodes here on the Seahawks Squad Show. We really transition now into preseason, as the first preseason game is on Thursday against the Las Vegas Raiders. Pete Carroll, Geno Smith, Jamal Adams, the whole kit and caboodle will be there. We'll see who ends up actually playing in those games, but it'll be nice to have Pete Carroll back at Lumen Field in Seattle. Today's episode is brought to you by Gametime. Download the Gametime app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONNFL for $20 off your first purchase today. And you'd be good to go. I actually inserted that twice into my little ad read there. So you could hear it if you wanted to rewind and hear me read it again. That's totally fine with you guys. But so let's kind of dive into it. Like I said before, we've talked a lot of training camp, who looks good, who looks bad, what things are you looking at practice, and we're finally kind of transitioning a little bit towards, I don't want to say real games, because these are glorified practices too, these preseason games. But it's a little bit more of a game atmosphere, I'll put it. So you have Pete Carroll coming back. I'm sure you guys touched on that a little bit last week as well. Just in general, for this game on Thursday, I'm going to ask each one of you what, the biggest thing you're looking for is, and then we'll kind of dive deeper into the bigger stories from there. Corbin Smith, I'll start with you.
Well, I'm going to go with the low-hanging fruit here, because we still don't know who the heck is starting at right guard. And so I am going to be watching that position. I think Oluwatimi is the starting center. He's been out the last couple of days with a back issue, but he's going to be fine, according to Mike McDonald. So I think that he's going to be ready to go for week one. But we don't know who's starting at right guard. And Anthony Bradford seems like all the momentum is on his side. Whether he's earned that or it's because other guys just haven't stepped up to the plate, that remains to be seen. But Anthony Bradford is going to be one of the starters, because we don't know if he is one yet. He is going to be one of the starters that is playing in this game. And I just want to see how he plays against the Raiders, because the talent's always been there. This has always been a guy who has the ability to physically manhandle people at 330 plus pounds. And he has moments where he's dominant as a run blocker, but the consistency, McDonald talked about that today, that's what's still missing. He's got to have more consistency. So I'm going to be watching him. I think Jalen Sundell is probably going to be playing all center, because Oluwatimi, I would doubt, is going to play at all in this game. So maybe Satawa Lamea is now getting an opportunity. I mean, Christian Haynes got moved over to left guard, which that is not a good sequence that we're looking at here. You're the first team right guard, and then suddenly you're snapping as a third string center, and you're backup right guard, and now you are playing left guard. That is not normally a good regression, so to speak. So, but we'll see. Maybe he is going to get some reps here in this game at right guard. He hasn't done that here the last few practices. But the questions at right guard still are big for me, and I just want to see who stands out at that position in the limited amount of time the starter's going to be out there. How's Bradford to look? What do we see from Haynes? Is Lamea going to be over there? That is still a position that leaves a lot left. There's a lot left to be desired there, in my opinion.
Yeah, I think a lot of Seahawks fans share your concerns. If there's one big concern coming out of training camp, that has, I think, been the one spot where people can be like, there's not really a lot of answers that are coming out of there at this point in time. Turbo, what about you? What's the biggest thing you're looking for going into the first preseason game on Thursday?
Yeah, hard to ignore the offensive line. Definitely want to see Zabel get out there and do his thing, but speaking of, being able to block, to me, it's Robbie Oots, man. I need to see it. I want to see, like, man, is this guy You know, is he really physical? Because he can only see so much in practice. You know what I mean? Like, but now when it's like, you know, when it's balls to the wall, the game is on, the lights are on, you know, it's game day. You know, are you putting people on their behind? You know, are you really like moving linebackers out of the hole and creating space, you know, for the runner? Are your eyes in the right place in terms of how you're reading, you know, run blocks and things of that nature, how you recognizing defense? And so, you know, it's him. I'm going to be watching a fullback, man. You know, as a guy who had a fullback as a running back, majority of his career, going back to when I was 10 years old. You know, I want to see it.
Yeah, I think a lot of Seahawks fans are interested to just, if nothing else, see what this looks like, because we haven't really had a big fullback presence in this offense in the last at least 5, 6, 7 years.
Right. And it's been highlighted.
Really been 10
so
years.
It's like, yeah, and because it's been highlighted, because it's been like, because they're intentional about having that be a piece of their offense. If it fails, what's plan B? You know, then what are you going to go to single back now? You're going to change your whole philosophy. So I want to see it.
Yeah, I think I'm with you there. You can never count out Turbo bringing up the fullback every single time I ask him something. It's awesome. That's what I love about him. Chris Crawford, what about you? What are you looking forward to on Thursday?
You know, I am really looking forward to seeing the wide receivers and the cornerbacks, just because I think that's the thing that is, for me, the easiest to pay attention to during preseason football, right? Like the offensive line, of course, if there's an obvious blown assignment, we can point to that. Or if there's an obvious, like, really great pancake block or something along those lines. And same for the defensive line. But there's, you know, assignment stuff that we can't know until we check out the all 22. And some of us, like me, are not going to get to see all of the all 22. But the wide receivers, you get to see those guys make the plays. You get to see them individually on their islands kind of make their plays. So in particular, I know I have brought him up every single time we've done this. I want to see what Torrey Horton does. I want to see if that skill set that I loved watching so much at Colorado State, how that applies. If he is that guy who can be someone on the outside, or maybe they give him some chance to play in the slot as well, who can just make plays. And then the cornerback, I think, depth behind the Seahawks, I think there's some interesting battles going on there as well. So I want to see how those guys handle the Vegas receivers. And that, to me, it's kind of a lazy thing. It's just easier for me to say, I watched that guy beat that guy individually, right? I watched that guy get the job done. If they're playing man-to-man, even if they're playing cover 2, cover 4, whatever, it's a little easier to diagnose that. So selfishly, I'm going to have fun watching the wide receivers and the defensive backs.
Yeah, no, I think that's immediately where a lot of people's eyes go when they first watch these, because it's the guys that you know more, and let's be honest, it's a little bit easier to break down wide receiver, cornerback one-on-one drills than it is for, you know, did that guy actually miss an assignment on the offensive line, or, you know, was that the play design, right? So, and that kind of leads us into our next point, is like, there's so many different ways to go about the preseason. You know, tons of different coaches, you know, go about it in different ways, whether it's, you know, playing your starters, whether it's not playing your starters, just taking the injury risk at all out of it. And there was a little bit of a ruckus in terms of news with, you know, Pete Carroll talking to the media and mentioning that, I don't want to say he's playing his starters, but he left it open to the opportunity that the starters will be playing in this game. And I think a lot of people ran with that. He's like, he's coming back to Seattle. He's going to have Geno Smith throw for 3,000 yards or 300 yards. And he's going to take it like it's the Super Bowl. Corbin, you've been around, you know, breaking this stuff down. You've spoken Pete Carrollese for a long time. Does what he said in regards to who's going to play on Thursday, does that mean that he's going to start his starting players right off the rip?
Look, I'm just going to say this, and Pete did this quite a bit. I loved interviewing Pete, and sometimes you could parse things out of what he said. But listen, this is what I call a classic Pete Carroll nothing burger. Like, nothing meaning like you aren't going to get anything out of it. He didn't say he was going to play starters. He didn't say he wasn't. Like, he just kind of just said something random, just like basically like, yeah, they're going to be ready. Well, does that mean they're going to be playing? Like, we don't know. And he's been very unpredictable over the years on whether he's going to play starters or not. And there have also been times where we've asked him if a certain guy's going to play, and he just would say, well, you'll find out. And this was just kind of another way of him saying, well, you'll find out. That's what he does. He finds different ways to say that. So maybe Geno Smith does get some reps playing back in his old stadium. I'm not going to sit here and say it's not going to happen, but I'm going to tell you that the people that are coming out and saying, Pete's playing his starters, I'm like, where the hell did you get that from out of that quote? I don't see anything that suggests Pete was like, oh yeah, they're playing. No, that's not what he said. So
yeah, I think you put it perfectly there. As someone who has been a radio producer, having to like cut up a bunch of Pete Carroll audio, and someone's asking me on the other line, Softy KJR, shout out, where you're like, hey, get the most juicy stuff, and I'm like, well, what do you want from Pete? Like, he doesn't say much. He is the king of saying nothing whilst having a bunch of words there. You know what I mean?
And looking like he's having fun doing it.
Exactly. And hey, that's especially, maybe that's just what he wants to do. He wants to kind of keep things light without having to say a bunch of stuff, and kind of keep his players in the right frame of mind going into game day. But Turbo, as someone who's been in this situation before, battling for a spot on the roster, what is something, I think in general, before we go into individual matchups and who needs to have a big preseason game on Thursday, in general, what, especially from what you've heard from what the Seahawks are doing going into this preseason game, what is a indicator that things are going the right way in terms of preseason? Is it as simple as if you're winning the game, things are going well? Do you need to see something specific out of a certain position group before you start to feel good about how the preseason's going? What's something you look for in these games to tell you, oh, okay, wow, things are going really well for this preseason so far?
Well, winning always helps, and I just want to make sure that I understand your question too, because are you talking about in terms of like as a team?
Yes, as a team. We'll go deep individuals in a sec, but just in general, like if you're watching the game on Thursday, if you see this on your TV screen or at the game, if you're going like, and that tells you, oh, things are trending in the right direction. They're working itself out. I don't even know how to fully describe it, but it's doing what it's supposed to do, I guess I should say.
No, I mean, really in layman terms, it really just comes down to like execution. A lot of times you watch a preseason, there's a lot of sloppy ball out there. Yep. You see it early in the regular season sometimes, especially if the starters aren't getting out there and playing, balls on the ground, and, you're turning the football over and you're missing a lot of tackles, and, you're not executing in the kicking game, right, in terms of field goals and punts and things of that nature. And so, when you're executing on all three phases, that's really what you want to see. You want to just see guys, hey, take care of the football. You're not going to score on every drive or anything like that. But you definitely want to see like, complimentary football. And you want to see, guys playing in sync with one another. So I think really from a coach standpoint and as a player, when you got that going on and you watch it, you're like, okay, this looks pretty good. It's got some pretty good potential.
Yeah, I think that's exactly what I was looking for. Like just some sort, like execution is a great way to put it. And if you see just some sort of camaraderie in terms of just, whether it's on offense or defense, and things are starting to click just a little bit, doesn't have to be a mid-season form or anything like that. I think I'm totally with you. Chris, what about you? What tells you that this preseason is successful for the Seahawks?
When people are healthy.
Okay.
That's another one. Really good point.
you want the cohesion and all of that totally matters, obviously, but like, just come out of this thing healthy. If you can come out of there without those major injuries, if you have, the depth that you want, but don't have to use that depth, I think you're feeling pretty good. By the way, just real quick on the Pete Carroll thing. It's so funny because, and I saw some people bring this up because I was doing some research about whether or not the starters were going to play tonight. And somebody brought up, and I forget who exactly it was, Pete Carroll will be this just really open guy from February to August. And then he becomes the master of coach speak as soon as August hits, right? And that's a perfect example of it. The answer that everybody's ready, everybody's live, that could mean literally freaking anything, right? Like that could mean anything in terms of who's going to be playing in this football game. It would be cool to see Geno Smith. I hope they could at least give him a chance to give him some kind of ovation, but you're going to do what's best for your football team too. And, the Seahawks can play their little tribute, and I hope they do play a little tribute to him to say thank you for what he did for those couple of years. But mainly it's just like getting healthy and looking like you guys are all on the same page, and I'll consider this a great preseason.
Yeah, I think that's another excellent point. Just
let me ask you guys something. Did Russell get a tribute video when he came back, when he was with Denver and played week 1?
I don't think so.
So what are we talking about then?
That's fair. I do think there is a little bit of a difference though. Well, and you know what? Gino did kind of force his way out of here a little bit too. So like that's
what I mean?
That's fair.
I'm kind of with Turbo on this. Like Pete's different. Like I understand Pete.
Yeah.
Like Pete didn't ask the Seahawks to let him go.
No, absolutely not. Great point.
But the quarterback's like, the fans can give him a chair or whatever, but like I don't think you need to put like a big video up already.
That's fair. I honestly kind of forget sometimes that
you're just a good guy, Chris.
Yeah,
you're a good person,
nice dude. But
Ross, I guess Turbo and I are not. We're not good people. We're like we don't need this.
I don't know. For some reason, I always think of Gino not being the guy who made this deal happen, and that's not entirely accurate. So that's a very fair point.
Yeah, that is interesting though, because he was the starting quarterback for 2 years, and led him to a playoff appearance 2 years ago in 3 years. Yeah, sorry, 3 years. Yeah. And so weird. Does not feel like it was that long. Anyways, but yeah, no, that'll be interesting to see what kind of ends up happening. Speaking of Pete, do they do something for him? Because like it almost feels, I said this on the air
today. That would make sense.
Yeah, but it almost to me would feel disingenuous to do it during the first preseason game. You got to wait till it's kind of a bigger moment to be like, all right, here's our big, huge thank you to you. So like, are they going to kind of do a
but they don't get
thing
to,
now?
They're not going to play them in a regular season game.
Yeah,
so
right.
Like,
yeah,
right.
And with his age, who knows if he coaches at Lumen again?
Yeah, because they are scheduled to play the Raiders next year, I think. I want to say.
Yeah, I would just do
but
it.
I think it's
do
in
it,
Vegas.
out of the way.
The last time they played was at Lumen Field.
Okay. All right. Yeah, no, I just honestly, I just thought, it just feels weird to have the return of Pete Carroll be in the first preseason game, and then that's the time you really honor him and everything. But I guess you could always do the flag raising stuff later as well. And like, so there's other ways to go about it for sure. All right. We'll do a deep dive into when we come back. We're going to do a deep dive into kind of position groups or certain players that need to have big games on Thursday. Because next time you'll hear from us on the Seahawks Squad show, of course, you'll get your daily content from Locked On Seahawks from Corbin Smith, Rob Rang, and Nick Lee. So they'll help kind of lead you up into the game a little bit. But the next time you hear from us, it'll be our first post-game show right after the first Seahawks preseason game on Thursday, and we'll be kind of breaking everything down. So leading into that, who needs to have a big game on Thursday? Who are you looking at the most, whether it's a position group battle, whether it's just someone you need to take a big step, whether it's just Jaylen Milroe, I need to see something out of you. Who are you looking at that needs to have a big game on Thursday the most? We'll talk about that when we get back. This episode is presented by Yahoo Fantasy. It's the best time of the year. NFL kickoff is almost here, and that means fantasy football season is back in full swing. And this year, Yahoo Fantasy is turning things up with a fantasy football experience like never before.
This year, me and my Seahawks Squad show are playing on Yahoo Fantasy, and you should too, whether you're a first-timer or a veteran making your millionth league. I am definitely the latter. Some of you guys know that I've worked for Roto-World for close to a decade now, and we work closely with Yahoo Sports. It's the very best. It's so easy to set things up. You never have to worry about scoring changes coming out of nowhere. You never have to worry about updates being out of whack or anything like that. It is the very best league to play in, and we can't recommend it enough.
To celebrate 28 years of fantasy football greatness, Yahoo Fantasy is dropping 28 big new features over 28 days throughout August. Kick it off, they just dropped Yahoo Fantasy Guillotine Leagues, killer new way to play fantasy football on Yahoo, where the lowest scoring team gets eliminated each week until there's one team left standing. Wow. With the season around the corner, it's now time to get your league together and give this new mode a try. If you're more into the classics, you can still play in head-to-head private leagues, or join a public league. Stay tuned for more killer announcements and start playing Yahoo Fantasy Football now at yahoofantasy.com/LockedOnNFL. Man, that reminds me, I need to get my fantasy stuff up and ready to go. But
Guillotine's so fun. So's Vampire League. If you've never played in a Vampire League, it's everybody drafts their team, but you start with nobody, and then you add a player from each team each week. Like that, like it's so much fun. Like Vampire Leagues, Guillotine Leagues, anything that keeps it fresh is really fun.
Wait. What?
Yeah. Yeah.
What is Vampire League? So you draft a team, but then you don't have anybody?
You don't have. So the Vampire team, 11 teams draft. The Vampire team doesn't draft anybody.
There's only one Vampire team.
There's only one Vampire team, right? They get to then pick up one player from a team each week, and then they have the whole waiver wire. Like they get everybody. Nobody else can make waiver wire claims either. So you get the whole waiver wire claim. Yeah, it's really.
And you
fun.
can pick any player.
Gosh, I'm gonna have to play this, man. I'm gonna be Dracula.
And then what's Guillotine?
So the Guillotine League is the lowest scoring team every week. They're donezo. They don't get to play any more. So it keeps going. So like it'll go from 12 teams to 11 teams to 10 teams until there's a final champion. It is, to quote my good friend E40, hella fun to play.
That's
crazy.
That is crazy.
Yes.
Well, you're looking at a defending champion. You know.
Okay.
All right, we got some trash talk coming here now.
Let's do a squad show fantasy league. I think that would be fun. I'll look into getting that set up.
Sure. Absolutely. Yeah. Need to do like a locked on fantasy league.
That'd be very fun.
All right. Let's transition a little bit into Thursday. If you want to look it up for your fantasy leagues too, preseason football can mean a lot for that as well, depending on how deep you dive into it. But for the Seahawks specifically, there's a lot of big stories. I don't want to say big stories coming into the preseason, but there's things that Seahawks fans, even if you're a casual football fan, you're excited about. Whether it's just I want to see Jaylen Milroe. This is the first time you're seeing a high ceiling quarterback that the Seahawks have drafted. You're not expecting him to start this year, but you want to see what he got. And then whether it's the running back situation with Kenny McIntosh out, you want to see how the offensive line looks. Is Torrey Horton going to beat out Marquez Valdez-Scantling? Where's Nicky Manwari going to line up? Like what? There's so many, I think positive things to look forward to. And then obviously the big negative, not negative, but just hey, we can't have a terrible offensive line sort of situation. So, Chris, I'll start with you this time. Who specifically are you watching on Thursday and why?
There's a couple different ones that I want to go with here, but I'll go with Drake Thomas just because I want to see how that backup linebackers look. I've talked a lot about my concern about the depth in those inside linebackers, and it's such an important position in the Mike McDonald offense. I don't believe Josh Ross is going to play in this game. So Drake Thomas, I think, has a chance to show, hey, I can be that guy. I can be that third linebacker in this rotation with Tyrese Knight and Ernest Jones-Ford. Those guys are obviously going to be the starters, but I think a backup there is pretty important. So I'm going to be really curious to see what Drake Thomas does, because if he doesn't look like that guy, I think that's a position that you got to start scouring the waiver wire for.
Yeah. Corbin, what about you? Who are you watching on Thursday?
I'm going to kind of piggyback off what Chris was talking about earlier with the receiver position, because I feel like Marquez Valdez-Scantling, I don't know that he is in jeopardy to make this roster right now, but it does feel like things are getting to be a little bit interesting on that front. And the reason I'm going to say that, Torrey Horton, as Chris was alluding to, that guy the last week has just soared up the depth chart, because now that he's healthy, he looks like the guy that Travis Hunter had issues with. I don't know that a receiver had more success at the college level against Travis Hunter than what Torrey Horton did. And you're seeing the ability to win downfield, the ability to create after the catch. And man, he's a smooth cat with the route running stuff. And I just want to see that translate to the preseason games. But I don't even know how much they're going to play him, because that's how much he's been playing with the ones. He might be out there for a couple series and then he's done so. So then it goes to the other players. I had Derek Young. I had the privilege of talking to him yesterday. Derek Young is having a phenomenal training camp. I know, by the way, he scored another touchdown today on an underthrown ball that he plucked one-handed off the dude's shoulder pads. And he had one off a helmet like David Tyree earlier in this training camp. Like, I don't know what's gotten into him. He looks like a different player. Some of it, I think, is just he's like, oh, I'm in an offense where a coordinator actually is going to use me, and the quarterbacks actually want to throw the ball to me. So he is having a great camp, and he's a very good special teams player. He has been his entire career. And then you've got Ricky White III, who's been really quiet until today. Had a couple really nice catches. He scored a touchdown the other day. We're starting to see Ricky White III, who we know is a good special teams guy. He blocked 4 punts last year at UNLV. Like, you start talking about all these different guys that are really good special teams players that are battling for one of those last couple spots. What does that mean for Marquez Valdes-Scantling if he is no longer the number 3 guy and Torrey Horton, who does all the things that he's supposed to do, and then he adds some other wrinkles to it? If he's already passed him on the depth chart, like, Valdes-Scantling's not known for his special teams. So where does that put him? So I'm going to be watching the receivers for that reason, because I do think there's some interesting things potentially developing there in terms of what they're going to do with veterans and some of these young guys who are really good special teams players and also are balling out on offense in training camp practices.
And someone you didn't even mention in that was Jake Bobo. Is he have a threat of not making this roster, do you think?
I don't think he does, because this offense is going to be so predicated on the run game. Jake Bobo is the best run blocker they've got, and you can do a lot of good stuff with him. Like, you can have him as a nub tight end if you want to, and he can play there. So I think Jake Bobo's on this roster. I think Torrey Horton's absolutely on this roster. I think it just now boils down to, like, I still have Valdes-Scantling making this team right now, but it's kind of like, if he's not going to be playing special teams, like those back of the roster receiver spots, things start getting really interesting, especially with Derek Young playing the way that he's playing right now.
Yeah. That's wow. There's so much to kind of dive into with that wide receiver group. Turbo, are you gonna back your guys, and are you watching the running back group, or are you looking at something else come Thursday?
Elijah.
Okay.
Elijah Arroyo. Yeah. I mean, Noah Fant gone, right? He's gone for a reason now. Okay, we could talk about the salary cap all we want to, but at the end of the day, they'll deal with the salary cap if they feel like they need a player, okay? And they won't deal with the salary cap if they feel like they have somebody else, okay, who can fulfill that role and potentially do it better at a lower cap number, okay? And that's where Elijah Arroyo comes in as a young rookie. I want to see it. And again, I think it comes down to physicality. I don't question his ability to be able to run routes and beat linebackers one-on-one and all that kind of stuff, man. Hey, but when we got to run outside zone and you got to kick out the defensive end, where you at?
Yeah.
Okay. That. So I'm gonna be watching him, because I feel confident in the other tight ends in terms of like their run blocking skills. But is Elijah Roy? Does he have the total package? Is it all in his? And he's a rookie, so of course, like he may not have what he doesn't have now. He may have 2 seasons from now, right? Because you develop every year. Okay, but you want to see what kind of potential a guy has in live action. So I'll be watching Elijah Arroyo.
Yeah, I think a lot of eyes will be on him for sure. Him and the player I'm going to choose have been the 2 kind of big stories out of training camp, and that's Nicky Manwari. Because, I mean, obviously 2 rookies that were drafted pretty high for the Seahawks, their 2nd and 3rd picks, respectively. And, I don't know, man, whether it's the fact that he got compared to Cam Chancellor early in his draft, or whether it was the amount of people that have been super excited watching him in practice. I want to see if this is legit. Again, I realize that preseason games is a glorified practice. You can't take a ton from these, but I still want to see him in a game situation, kind of break it all down against someone else. You know what I mean? And I believe, Corbin, can you confirm this for me, that the McDonald's said that the rookies would be playing like Emanwari, correct?
Yeah, Zabel, Emanwari, Arroyo, all the rookies are going to be playing in this game. Now, it sounds like Zabel, if you're parsing through his words, it sounds like Zabel, you're going to get a taste, but then he's going to be out. I don't know how much they're going to be playing the other guys. It is kind of an interesting conundrum when you're talking about Nick Emanwari, particularly because you're talking about a guy that's going to be playing a lot of different positions. You want to get him reps, but he's getting so many reps on the practice field as it is. and he's been mixing in with the ones. So there's a balancing act there. I don't know if you play him a couple series and then you pull him back. That's probably what I would do because I've already seen enough on the practice field that I'm like, that guy is going to be playing a lot for me in week 1, and I don't want to risk getting him hurt. I also don't want to see some reps against another team as well.
Yeah. And I would, if I may, I would say, because I've heard you say a couple times that you can't get a lot from preseason games. You get a lot. You get a lot from the preseason games.
When you say you get a lot, do you mean fans can take a lot from watching these games, or coaches can get a lot from like evaluating these players? What do you mean by that?
Yeah, both. Especially from the evaluation standpoint, and really, from a fan standpoint too. Like you, it's the game.
Yeah.
It at the end of the day, like it is the game. The referees are out there; they're keeping score. You're following all the rules. You can't hold like you can in practice.
Right.
You can't get away with it.
Right.
It is the game, man. And so you get a lot. You get a lot from the preseason game. Jermaine Kearse became the most clutch wide receiver in the history of the Seahawks franchise because he was undrafted and played well in the preseason.
Right.
That's where it started for him.
Yep.
And they saw it then. They saw him making plays in the fourth quarter then. Right. You know what I'm saying? When Russell was spinning out of tackles and, doing all these magical things with his feet, that started in the preseason. And they said, oh, you know what? He's going to beat out the guy we just paid millions of dollars to from a preseason game. They decided that. Sure. So you get a lot. You get a lot from these preseason games.
Yeah. Well, I'm happy to be staying corrected because I think there's just this general feeling. Maybe it's just, you're around tons of different, thoughts about the Seahawks, and with how long the offseason can feel, it just is like, all right, can we start the real games already, sort of thing. Sure. But it's somewhat understandable. But these are games, right?
And I'll add this with what Robert said. I think it also depends by the year too, because there have been years covering this team where the preseason games, like, I'll be honest, like, it takes a lot for me to feel this way because I am a football diehard, but there are times where you get to like the middle of the third quarter and you're like, okay, can we move forward with this? Can we get to the regular season? Like there are this year though, I feel like is going to be totally different. You get to watch Jaylen Milroe run all over the place in the third and fourth quarter against. And look, this is not knocking guys, but a lot of the guys he's playing against, like, they're going to be like working different jobs in a couple weeks. Like,
it's just fact.
So you get to see a 4.39 40-yard dash quarterback running the ball against those guys, and Tyrone Broden with 4.3 speed on the outside. I think TB is going to be one of the stars of the preseason, and he and Milroe kind of have that chemistry being built. So I am really excited to see what ends up coming out of that. I just think that the fact that they've got all these really exciting rookies at premium positions, like this is going to be a different year where you're really going to have some excitement seeing those guys play. And there is going to be a lot that you can gain from that.
Yeah. I mean, it's a good point. And I like, it's not just a binary, like this year. I mean, all years, preseason sucks. You can never get anything out of it. Right. And when you have kind of a defined roster like the Seahawks had for a long period of time where it's like, we kind of know where these spots are going. Maybe there's one or two where you don't. But this year, there's so much up in the air, especially with all the turnover and the coaching staff. You don't know what they prefer. That's another thing that I'm interested in seeing is like, where do they feel they're getting the value? Would they rather have a guy that's more versatile, that can play on special teams, that can kind of make plays all around the field versus a guy that like the whole Marquez Valdez-Scantling thing versus some of the other fringe receivers? How much are they going to value that? So that's really interesting to see going forward.
Real quick before we go to the break, too, that's one of the most interesting things for me with Derek Young, too, right? Is because Mike McDonald specifically said you feel that guy when he's run blocking, right? You feel that guy there. So if he can be that, if he is a guy you feel confident playing in those type of situations, on top of just being one of the better gunners in the NFL, like that speaks really well to him. So. And
that dude is just flat out yoked. Like that guy, like he is now he has taken DK Metcalf's spot as the yoke to do it in this offense. Like
who took Robert Turbin's spot, so it's okay.
We went from Turbo
I'm
to
retired.
DK, and now we're going to Dorit. I'm fine.
He is though, like he's like 225 pounds. Just like he looks like, I say this only about a handful of guys. He looks like he was carved by the Greek gods. Like he's got one of those physiques, and then he's more flexible now. Like and you're seeing his route running. Like, and people keep saying, like, why are you gushing about this guy so much? He's got 6 touchdowns in the last 6 practices. Like, he's just like Mike McDonald said, he can't ignore it. Like the guy's doing things every single practice. So
no, I love it. You're making plays when you need to, and he knows that he needs to at this point in time. All right. We've kind of avoided the big topic, or not the big topic, one of the big topics about Thursday's game, and it's Jaylen Milroe. We're going to come back, and we're going to chat about what we, are expecting or maybe want to see from him in his first professional football game right after the end of this break. Ever wish managing your money felt easier? With Monarch Money, it can. Whether you're growing your savings or planning a big purchase, Monarch Money puts you in the driver's seat. It's like having your own personal CFO, giving you full visibility and control over your finances.
Monarch Money is more than a budgeting app. It's a complete financial command center. You can track all your accounts, investments, and spending in one place. So in addition to managing your money, you're also building wealth. You don't have to have 32 different apps for your bank accounts, guys. You can just have Monarch Money. It'll do everything you're looking to do. You can save some room on your phone for pictures of stuff that is much more important. Thank you, Monarch Money, for saving my bandwidth.
Take control of your finances with Monarch Money. Use code LOCKEDONNFL at monarchmoney.com for 50% off your first year. That's monarchmoney.com, code LOCKEDONNFL for half off your first year. All right, Jaylen Milroe. I think if you were to say preseason to a casual Seahawks fan, any Seahawks fan, and you were to ask who are you most looking forward to see, I think the majority of their answer would be Jaylen Milroe. I just think with the tools that he has, with the hype surrounding him, like there's a huge ceiling for him, but you have to really see it before you can really start to believe it. So I'm gonna start with you, Turbo, this time. What do you need to see from Milroe? Whether it's just executing the offense, whether you need to see some flashy plays, whether you need to see the accuracy. What's something that you really need to see from him to kind of make you believe he's at least in the conversation of the quarterback of the future for the Seattle Seahawks?
Yeah, I'm not really overly concerned about the physical tools. I know there's some accuracy things that folks want to see from him. Can he deliver the football on time and stuff like that, and put it in the places where it needs to be? To me, I want to see him play quarterback, which is commanding the huddle, being organized at the line of scrimmage, not taking delay of games, things of that nature, right? Having poise, and being ahead of the clock, and those kind of operational things are the things that I want to see from Jaylen Milroe in terms of his execution, the maturity. I mean, he's going to be a rookie, right? And so there's some time for him to mature as a quarterback, but some guys show it earlier than others. And, I want to see where he's at right there with the mental aspect of the game.
Yeah, and I think a lot of people raved about his leadership, personality coming out of Alabama too. So I'm interested to see how that translates to the pro level. Corbin, what about you?
It still all boils down to mechanics, because there have been some throws. It feels almost like the last 3 or 4 practices, it seems like some of the his body has kind of gotten away from some of the habits that he's been working on, the muscle memory stuff. And so that is going to continue to be something that I'm monitoring, because what I saw last year at Alabama, a lot of the games that I watched when I dug into the All-22, I had a 4th-round grade on him going into the draft, and it was primarily because of the short to intermediate concerns with just uncorking ugly throws. And the pocket presence was not always there. For a guy as athletic as he was, there were a lot of times that he ended up getting smacked in the pocket, and you're like, as athletic as you are, like, you got to know when those guys are coming down and then get out of there. And so those were things I wanted to see improvement on. The games is where we're going to finally get to see that pocket presence, because guys aren't hitting him at practice. see if he's made some improvements there. But I'm going to be watching from the hips down primarily with him. Is he getting that wide base, the wider base, throwing the football that we saw that he was doing a good chunk of this training camp? And he's kind of, I'm not going to say he slipped a bunch, but there's been a little bit of a regression there since the pads have come out. And that was something I was expecting. But now that you are playing real football and you are going to have pass rushers coming after you, is he able to maintain that muscle memory and have that translate into game action? Because when that doesn't work out, that's when he starts throwing balls behind guys. He starts throwing them into the dirt on those short to intermediate throws. And that is where he's got to become more consistent if he's going to play in the NFL. He's got an NFL deep ball right now. Yeah. He's got NFL athleticism right now. But the short to intermediate game, and I would even argue he's got the leadership intangibles already checked off. It is the short to intermediate passing game and just the mechanical stuff that has been well documented. He's made major strides. He's improved as much as any quarterback with form stuff and mechanics as I've seen in a 5 or 6 month span ever. But he's still, his body's fighting some of those things right now. I want to see what it looks like when he's really got the real bullets flying, even in a preseason game. It's the closest thing that you've had to a regular season game. I just want to see how he holds up mechanics wise.
Yeah, I want a quick follow-up on something, Corbin, then I'll get to you, Chris. I'm curious about what you have seen in his anticipation. Is it more that he just doesn't have the correct footwork, or something's wrong mechanically, but he's seen to throw at the right time and he's trying to make it at the right time? Or is something along the anticipation line of thinking off as well?
I don't think he's got issues with anticipating throwing windows. And the issue is just the accuracy just disappears on him at times. And I'll just give you an example. I believe this was, I think this was last Thursday's practice, and he was just dropping dimes on deep balls. That was the practice that he threw a bomb to Steven Sims at the end, right into Sims' left hand in the bucket. It was a 60-yarder that he just kind of flicked his wrist. Like, that's the arm talent we're talking about here. Deep ball, his mechanics don't get away from him. Where he gets into trouble is those 10-yard throws, so even the 5-yard throws. He makes the right reads, but then the lower body mechanics break down. Next thing you know, you've got the football is landing 5 feet in front of the receiver, and it's nowhere near him, and ends up going into the ground, or he airmails a throw. Like, that is where he gets into trouble. So I don't think the anticipation stuff is an issue. I think he checks off a lot of the boxes in terms of what you need to do to play quarterback. But if you can't throw an accurate football, it doesn't matter. Like, that is going to be a huge battle for him to wage the next couple of years. Just dealing with those mechanics and trying to get in a position where he's able to consistently do that. Because if he can do that, then I think he can play on Sundays and be a really good starter in the NFL. That's just, to me, it's still kind of a big if, just because we've seen these last few practices that's kind of gotten away from him again.
Yeah, and Chris, to me, maybe I'm wrong on this, and you can just totally just shove it in my face, be like, yeah, no, Andrews, you're not right. But to me, I would rather have issues with the mechanics than with the anticipation, because I think that's a little bit easier to teach, but I could be completely wrong. I'm no quarterback guru or anything, but what are your thoughts, and what are you looking for from him on Thursday?
I mean, I think you definitely need both, but I think that there are intangibles that Jaylen Milroe has that can't be taught, which is great, right? But he also has, and this, I'm so glad Corbin said it, right? Because this is the test, right? How does this improve footwork play when he's getting rushed by real defenders, right? How does this play? Because the guy I watched against Michigan at the very end of the year and the guy that I watched in the Senior Bowl, that footwork was ugly, man. It was ugly. Now, that's great that he's made these improvements. The big thing for me that I want to see on Thursday is, how does he do when the primary receiver isn't there? Because this is something I talked to a lot of people about, that he really struggled coming off of that receiver, right? It's not about the anticipation. It's just the success rate when he had to reset, when he had to find that second guy, just wasn't there. How is he going to do with that? How is he going to make that adjustment? Everything I've heard about Jaylen Milroe since he became a Seattle Seahawk, outside of, as Corbin mentioned, these last few games, has just been glowing reviews. But I think that's actually good that you're hearing a little bit about some struggles, because I want to see how Jaylen Milroe rises above them. And my guess is he's going to rise above them pretty damn well, because I think he's on top of being a really good football player, a really talented football player, I think he's kind of a special guy. Like, I think
he's a really good kid. He's a really good kid.
I think he has those intangibles that you're looking for from a starting quarterback. But I want to see on Thursday and how he responds, because there are going to be bad moments, right? Those happen for every rookie quarterback, right? Especially a guy who's a third-round pick who is not expected to start. He's going to try to do something that's too much. I want to see how he responds, and that's going to be awesome to watch. Will not be surprised if anything happens with Jaylen Milroe. If he looks like an absolute superstar, if he looks like a guy who needs to wait a couple of years before he gets his chance, you shouldn't make the entire judgment based on what happens. Sure. But I'm fascinated to see how he does with that first test where we actually have defenders who aren't wearing Seahawk colors are playing against him.
Yeah, the whole range of outcomes is available.
So much volatility.
It's so true. This is why I have you guys. I can bounce my ideas off you guys, see if what I'm seeing is the way to look at things, and if I'm a total idiot, which sometimes I am. But we'll come back after this quick break, and the big question I have is if the Seahawks need to make a slight tweak, maybe addition in this one particular area. We'll talk about that when we get back.
Anders, I'm going to interrupt you immediately. Eugenio Suarez homered.
I know, I did see that, actually. Okay. I have it right next to me, don't worry.
The important things.
Yes,
sorry.
he did.
I'm sorry.
No,
that's an important man to our good friend Anderson Hurst.
I know. So he's probably my favorite Mariner of all time. So that's just how it goes. Good vibes only. And speaking of good vibes, there are not good vibes in Dallas between the Cowboys and Micah Parsons right now. So lots of speculation on if he could be seeking a trade, whether this is just him using leverage to get a new contract. Is there anyone that can afford him at this point in time? And if there anyone that is, it's the $37 million of cap space that the Seattle Seahawks have. Okay, we're going to play our game of predict the future here. Nostradamus will make his appearance. So, A, will the Seahawks go after a Micah Parsons? And B, should the Seahawks go after Micah Parsons? Turbo, I'm starting with you.
Oh, dang. You gonna come right at me or right away?
Yeah, let's go.
I needed some time to think about this.
All right,
because it's like, will they? Probably not. Okay, I doubt it. I think they feel pretty comfortable with what they have on the defensive line and rushing the passer. We know Chinna Nwosu's got to get healthy, but they got his teammate.
Exactly.
Marcus Lawrence,
yes,
so hey,
they like each other.
About that. They were beefing for a little bit, when DeMarcus Lawrence left the team. So should they? Man, if you feel like you're a legitimate Super Bowl, team this season, I don't see why not.
Yeah,
getting Micah Parsons kind of reminds me of when Seattle went and got Cliff Averill from Detroit.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. It's funny that you say that because we had Cliff Averill on the radio today on KJR, and we asked him the same question: should the Seahawks go after Micah Parsons? And he said that he doesn't expect it to happen because it's not what John Schneider does. Right. He is a guy who builds his defense on depth rather than like the high end.
They went and got him. He went and got Cliff.
Yeah, but he was saying how he didn't pay top dollar for Averill. He kind of like lower than market value for both him and Michael Bennett, and then they brought them both in, right? So I don't know how, like, this is straight from the guy's mouth. I wasn't in the room for the negotiations, so I don't know how much more Cliff could have gotten from someone else. But yeah, he was coming off the injury too, so there is that. But I don't know, man. I think with Micah Parsons on this team, Corbin Smith, I think Turbo, you said if you're a Super Bowl contender, go get him. I think if the Seahawks get Micah Parsons, that turns them into a Super Bowl contender. What say you?
Ooh, Anders. Okay, I can see that.
If it's my turn to, I'm going to say this. Will they? Look, if I'm John Schneider, I'm calling Jerry Jones, I'm calling Stephen Jones, I'm calling their sixth nephew down the line. Yeah. I'm calling anyone that has any possibility of getting into Jerry Jones's ear just because, look, you've got Adam Durde as your defensive coordinator, who, by the way, I have been told this by several people in the know. He and Micah Parsons are very close. So, and I also will say this for people saying, well, DeMarcus Lawrence and Micah Parsons are beefing. Like, they were beefing because DeMarcus Lawrence made the comment and the Seahawks were, it was a better position to go compete for a championship. If Micah Parsons joins the Seahawks, he's going to be feeling the same damn way. I don't think that beef is going to be like, so I'm going to say that he should absolutely be doing it because Micah, look, Mike McDonald has not normally had 250-pounder, under 250-pound guys off the edge. But Micah Parsons is just one of one. Like, there's not another guy like him. I mean, he has 62.5 sacks in his first 4 seasons in the NFL. That's just flat out ridiculous. He had double-digit sacks last year, and he was hurt half the season. Like, this guy, he's one of those few players that opposing offenses, like, they're building their whole game plan just trying to make sure he doesn't destroy them by himself. You put him on a D-line with Leonard Williams and Byron Murphy II and Jaron Reed. You can move him to the A-gap. You can sugar A-gaps with him and play him like an off-ball linebacker. Like Mike McDonald, think about it. He can have Eamon Wari out there with him. Like Mike McDonald, like mad scientist is having brain overload thinking about all the fun things he can do with those guys.
Let me interject real quick because I want to ask Chris a question. Okay. Because then, all right, so it's like, okay, will they? Probably not. Should they? We probably all agree, like, yeah, okay, but then who they giving up, Chris?
Oh, you're talking multiple first round.
It ain't gonna be for free.
Yeah,
it ain't like you're a free agent now.
No.
You know.
Here's my thing too, right? Like, and I listened to that interview with Cliff. I think he kind of forgets that this team did go out and trade multiple first round picks for Jamal Adams. This team did go out and get Jadeveon Clowney. Now. It didn't cost multiple first round picks, but they did go get him, right? I think if Pete Carroll was still in the building, I think he would be sleeping at John Schneider's house until he got it done, right? Like, because I just think he's that type of dude that, like, Pete Carroll would be like, this guy plays for me or he plays for nobody type of thing. I wouldn't say that John Schneider's going to be like remorseful so much of the Jamal Adams trade that he's not willing to go get a player like that. That obviously didn't work out the way that anybody wanted it to for Jamal Adams, for the Seahawks, for anybody. It works out okay for the Jets, I suppose. Like, they got some pretty good players for him, but I think you got to try, man. And here's the thing. I didn't hear not Jadeveon Clowney. I heard Micah Parsons used the term beyond repair, right? He said the word that he feels like this relationship is beyond repair. And that got me excited until I remembered Myles Garrett said the same freaking thing right before signing a massive contract, right? Like, this is all negotiation stuff. Yeah. It'll probably work out, but holy crap on a cracker. You got to try to get this guy, man, because he's like a top 7 player in the NFL. And maybe I'm being like underrating in that terms, like, because he has things that he could do. I still remember that there was talk at Penn State about this dude returning kicks. He is that athletic that they were talking about having homeboy return kicks. Like, this is a special athlete with special instincts. Like, you got to try. You absolutely have to try. And if you had to give up your first rounder next year and a high pick the year after that, I'd think about it. I'd really think about it, because this is the type of guy that you look at and say, our first round pick was Micah Parsons.
Yeah, he's 26
okay with that, right? Like,
here's the other thing.
Percy Harvin for a first round pick.
Yeah. Yeah.
And here's the other thing that when Chris, the initial question was like, what are you giving up? The Seahawks have 2 other things that are working for them. If the Cowboys decide, look, hey, like, he's dead serious, like, he wants the hell out of here, like, and the Cowboys actually decide they're willing to play that game, which I don't know if that'll happen or not, but let's live in a world for a second. We're in a multiverse, and one of the other universes, look, Jerry Jones decides, hey, I'm going to try to see what I can get for it.
Sure.
The Seahawks have Boye Mafe and Derek Hall on the roster right now. Mafe is a free agent after this year. Right. Mafe has shown flashes. He's been a good player, but is he going to be a great one? We don't know that yet. But Seattle has the cap space, and they also have a young pass rusher option that they can throw if the Dallas Cowboys say, hey, you guys can get a good young pass rusher back in this trade. Whoa. And so they've got the money, they've got the draft assets, and they've got the players on the roster that they can sweeten the pot with here. that I think that they could make as good of a deal as anybody if the Cowboys are open to offers, and Seattle wouldn't have to give up more draft picks because they do have some assets on the roster that are young players on rookie deals that they can dangle as part of
They're
this.
gonna have to give a pick. You're gonna have to give us some kind of pick, third round pick, something. Along with Boye.
I think 2 firsts, a third, maybe a day 3 pick, and then Boye Mafe. Like if the Seahawks and Cowboys agree to that,
I personally would do it. It's a lot though. It's such. The risk for me is always the year after, right? You know what I'm saying? Because like, if you are as good as you think you are, you're picking after 20, right? That's what you're probably doing. The reason I would be risk averse a little bit with trading multiple first round picks is because I don't know if you have your starting quarterback, right? And there is that chance, right? If things go wrong,
that's a good point.
Maybe you want that first round pick to go get that quarterback. You know what I mean? But like, man, if you could do it for like a first, a second, and Mafe, I think you got to do it, right? Even knowing that you're going to have to pay this guy.
Jerry Jones would laugh you off the phone if it was just those 3 things.
That's the thing, though, right? Like, because they still have the leverage because of how the NFL works. The Dallas Cowboys still have the leverage in this situation, right?
I would give them both young players, both Mafe and who's the other kid?
Derek Hall.
Yeah, both of them.
Because Turbo, here's what you can do. And some of our listeners are going to be like, oh, no, don't do this. But like, you get Micah Parsons, who's actually a little younger than Boye Mafe.
Yeah.
You get Micah Parsons, and you go out and you say, hey, Jadeveon Clowney, we already have been talking to you. How about you come in now?
Yeah.
Now you have Micah Parsons, Jadeveon Clowney, DeMarcus Lawrence, and you're going to get a healthy Uchenna Nwosu back.
I will say, if the Seahawks did all of that, then to me, like, I mean, I would really look at them as the favorite in the NFC West after those moves for sure.
And I know for a fact that the Seahawks have interest in Clowney. I've been talking about it since June.
Right.
But he's not in a rush to sign because he's an older player, doesn't want to be in training camp. I get it. Like, but like Clowney has played his best football in Mike McDonald's defense just 2 years ago. So I'm just throwing this out there. Like you could trade both those guys away and a first round pick and maybe a second rounder. Like, and then you go out and you sign Clowney to go with him. Like, I think I like the group better than what I had before quite a bit, to be honest.
And the chat here is not in favor mostly of going for Parsons here. And all I'll say to that is, all right, you can't be the same guy that complains that the Seahawks don't have any top end talent, and then also be the same guy that says it complains about when they go and trade for something like that, right?
Bro,
you can't.
I wonder how much of that
you got to pay the price for him. Like,
yeah. I wonder how much of that has to do with like
you gotta spend money to make money, baby. That's investment 101.
I wonder how much of that has to do with like people not liking Micah Parsons on the podcast stuff that he does.
I can see that.
In which I say,
pretty likable.
But you know what I like?
It's 2025. Like, athletes have podcasts. What we do? Like,
and what I really like are the stats that Micah Parsons puts up, right? Like,
exactly.
That's a lot more valuable to me than him doing a podcast with CJ Stroud where he says some pretty brash things, man. I don't really give a you know what about that. As long as he gets to the quarterback and makes plays in the run game. And Micah Parsons, I know he's not an elite run defender, but he's certainly good enough. And his ability to get to the quarterback it's as good as it gets, man.
Yeah, there is some leftover PTSD from the Jamal Adams trade because there would be a lot of similarities to this.
That's like the only one that went wrong.
Yeah. I mean,
David Clowney trade worked out great.
Jimmy Graham was great. He was not. You traded Max Unger, so that made it look bad because you haven't been able to find
bad one too. That was
bad.
But
you got Tyler Lockett in that trade too. I do want to point that out.
Like, I forgot about that one.
You got Tyler Lockett in that trade too. Everybody forgets that Lockett was in that deal technically because you used those picks. Some of those picks that you got.
But
the pick
here's the thing: like Jimmy Graham did what Jimmy Graham does. Like the problem is that the Seahawks are trying to fit a square peg into a round hole. He still had a 10 touchdown season. He still had. I mean,
he's a good player.
I don't blame Jimmy Graham for that. I blame them giving up Max Unger for it. Like, I never would have done that. But if they could have found another way to get Jimmy Graham and keep their center, then obviously, history's painted a little different. But Jimmy Graham was a really good player in Seattle. It's what you gave up, unfortunately, that sullies that deal. So,
yeah, and I just think the Seahawks need. They have, with this roster, it doesn't, besides the offensive line, and we talked about that, I don't see a hole, right? I don't see a massive, whoa, what's going on here, especially on the defensive side. But they don't really have a true superstar to, make insane plays. And those are the guys that get you over the top. And this would be that. You need to add to the ceiling. So this is a perfect opportunity to do that. Yeah, sometimes it doesn't work out. But I think
they could definitely do it.
I don't see a bigger opportunity, especially what you were talking about with McDonald and what he could do with him just gets me even more excited.
Anders, this could be my closing comment, Anders.
Yeah, go ahead.
I just want you to think about what Mike McDonald is would be able to do. Yeah. This is not Madden talk. I'm not talking about this is something that could realistically happen if the Cowboys were willing to trade it. But I just want you to think, if you're an opposing offensive coordinator and an opposing quarterback, and you're going against a defense that has Micah Parsons, who's equally disruptive rushing from both sides, can blitz as an off-ball linebacker. You've got Devin Witherspoon, who is the best blitzing corner in the NFL. Right. You have Nick Emanwari, who South Carolina didn't blitz much, but I can tell you he's going to be a menace as a blitzer at 6'4", 230. You have to deal with all three of those chess pieces out there at the same time. And, oh, by the way, I'm forgetting Big Cat in the middle and Jared Reed. That, the amount of flexibility you would have for all the pieces you can move around, and just, if I'm an opposing quarterback, I'm like, how do I game plan for that? Because there's going to be so many different things that they can do with that. So I think it's a pipe dream, but it's fun to talk about pipe.
It's a really fun one. Just real quick too, another connection that I forgot. Who was coaching Micah Parsons on the defensive line the last couple of years as well, until he became the defensive coordinator of the Seahawks,
Dirty, right? As I mentioned, yeah.
That's a huge connection, right? You know how this would work, and especially if he's signing off on that type of deal, saying, I need to go get that guy. That would be another thing that would make me go, boy, let's go do something like this, man. Shoot your shot. Flags fly forever. Go do it.
Yeah. Turbo, any last comments? You want Micah?
I want Micah.
Yeah,
I want Micah.
Okay.
I want Micah.
We all want Micah. I think honestly, it's just, also knowing I'd love to have a Lamborghini, but
it's a great move though. It really is. And Corbin, I just love how you mapped out what the Seahawks could potentially give up, especially in terms of those young, pass rushers that we have right now. If it's great with Dallas, if it's great for their salary cap and everything, and so the guys still have potential. It's not like they suck. You know what I mean? They do have potential to be great players. Micah Parsons takes the Seahawks to a whole nother conversation in terms of teams in the NFC. It really does. It really does. And so I think they should definitely be having conversations in terms of trying to make this happen.
The last question I'll bring up, and anyone that has the answer or knows has an answer for this can answer that. But does he have any sort of risk of locker room disruption?
Hell no.
Besides the fact that he does a podcast.
No.
I don't know. But
No. If this was a guy that was a worry, I would be immediately saying, no, you're not no, there's no reason. And again, the DeMarcus Lawrence beef, those two would be very happy together again if Micah Parsons is in Seattle with him.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Honestly,
DeMarcus Lawrence probably bro, I knew you was gonna follow me over here. You just like a little brother. Just follow.
That is exactly how it would go. Yep.
God, wouldn't that be fun to bring that guy on this defense, man? Then we could start to talk about, all right, the Legion of Boom 2.0 in terms of just an elite defense. Let's go, boys. All right. All right. Thank you so much, everyone, for tuning into the Seahawks Squad Show. Please like the video if you haven't already. It really helps us out a ton. You can catch this episode anywhere you get your podcast, where you find Locked on Seahawks. It'll say Seahawks Squad Show as well. You can watch us once again on YouTube. Just go to the live section. and you can see everything that we have recorded up until now. We will see you guys next time on our inaugural post-game show after the Seahawks face the Las Vegas Raiders. Pete Carroll's coming to town. Let's break down Jaylen Milroe's every single play that he made. I cannot wait for that. And then we'll kind of just talk about the game and what we've seen so far. Corbin, you won't be with us on Thursday because you'll be at the game.
No, but I have a show coming up on our channel here in about 10 minutes, so you get more Locked On Seahawks.
Exactly.
Beautiful.
Always give you all the content here with Locked On Seahawks. We really appreciate you guys kind of being with us today. So we'll talk to you guys after the game on Thursday. Have a good one. Go Hawks.